Hello, hello. Oh, baby! Thank you! And I beat Frank.
Oh my god!
Beat Frank.
Jesus, what the mic? Oh my god!
Hit that shit, bitch.
I wasn't recording. Just kidding.
Yeah, I was noticing that. I'm like, this thing's not telling us how long we've been recording. Like,
I
there's
know.
no timer on it.
I'm not sure that was a full 45 minutes, but that's fine. I'm not even sure what time we started.
Sort of like at
Oh, wait, what time did we start?
10:20-ish.
Frank, it's 10 o'clock.
I mean, 9:20-ish.
Okay, so let's hope it was 40 minutes because
Yeah.
we need 40 minutes. Anyway, this is completely up to you if you'd be willing to do another episode. Talk more politics was what we were gonna try to do, but I'm always so nervous about bringing up politics to people.
Why?
You anymore?
Huh?
I can't see you anymore. You're gone. You see your family, which is a great picture. I'm assuming that's Christmas.
Thanks. I don't know if I. Oh. Don't
There
double
it
click it.
I think I'd like to dwell in a little bit more about how we in the Valley deserve better education from everyone, and then we can get into that politics. That's a
Okay.
whole mess of itself, if we're being completely honest, especially for people with disabilities. There's a lot of stuff people don't know.
I wish I was more versed in politics. Unfortunately, this podcast has attracted a lot of right-wing, very nationalistic people. We've got a couple friends of the pod who are 100% nationalistic, slightly racist, and we
Disability is a great thing.
What? What were you saying?
It might be for rights for people with disabilities. I think there's always more to be done, and I think that's not really a partisan issue. I don't think education should be a partisan issue.
I agree. But unfortunately, who you vote for is, and who you vote for is gonna help with that. So, or not.
So I think we can start there because I think later, if you want, we could even do a whole thing on like parents need to know. This can be in a whole entire different one because there's like forever and a day that I can talk about. Parents need to know their rights as far as like when it comes to IEPs and what they can ask for, and where they should be heading with their kids' arts and all that kind of stuff.
IEP?
The individualized education plan.
Oh yes. I should have those terms locked in better in my head, but as you know, I don't.
Like I know because that's my life, but I think parents need to be more versed and sometimes, and I want to tell my parents, so like I'll tell them like go to this training, but like there's a lot of stuff like I just can't tell them that they should be fighting for because they should be fighting for more. Like
Yeah.
it's upsetting to me when like future I've had it to where I've had an occupational therapist, she wasn't able to work with one of my kids because he was severely disabled and didn't have the cognitive ability to understand what was going on. There was stuff you could do with him though. So she lessened his time because she didn't know what to do with him.
Damn.
So that's nuts. He also came from a different
But in today's age, when you don't know how to handle or deal with YouTube is really there's assistance literally for free in an instant. In an instant for everything. I'm trying to put together a yoga class for my sister's friends who are deaf. And it's almost impossible because they have to look at you. They're facing down in certain. There are solutions. If there's a time if the pose needs to move on, walk by them with a fan and blow on them. And it's a soft, subtle indicator. Like there are solutions to every problem. You just have to care enough to look for them.
exactly.
Are we recording again? When did I hit record?
When you hit record, like about fucking.
I didn't mean to do that. Hey, everybody, this is a completely inappropriate podcast. I'm Tony, along with Mr.
Frank.
We have returning again our friend Alyssa, who is a school
running
teacher,
away.
who
Oh.
decided that we got a little too loud. She had to go close the door.
Come back inside. They're barking like crazy. So
Oh, the dogs. Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know how long I started recording, but here we are.
It was like 6 minutes ago.
Well, if I got to trim the fat at the beginning, we'll go ahead and do that.
Okay.
So here we are again, talking with Alyssa. I guess you may have heard what we're planning on talking about here. You heard a little bit of the early rantings of it already. Yeah, so you were saying, so you had, so we were saying, would you like to continue or would you like me?
No, you can go ahead.
Good, because I completely forgot what we were talking about.
I was going to bring up that your man crush over there, Elon Musk, made the argument that we really don't need, I guess we should call it formal education, because, or rather to pay for education, because right now...
Well, hold on. You just said two different things. Do we not need formal education or do we not need to pay for education? I agree with that. We shouldn't have to pay for a formal education.
We shouldn't have instituted schools, instituted learning.
I mean, because, you had to start somewhere.
Because that right now you can learn anything for free.
Right.
Like in the case of YouTube and Skillshare and
right, but you still need a facility that's going to facilitate a grading system, because you can give somebody a book and assume that they're going to read it and go through it thoroughly and come out with the proper information. But if they skip a chapter, they may miss the whole reason that the Civil War started.
Right.
They may think it was over this and not that, to not be too specific with that. I just realized how incendiary that conversation is.
Climate and culture, like seeing QAnon, that's a whole thing.
Oh, you just got us banned. Thanks. We were having such a good time. Now this show's never going to get out there. No, you can't use that word.
I think the fact that that is running so rampantly just goes to show that there's, and especially with all the mistruth going on, I personally was taught to find credible information.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that misinformation, conspiracy theories are a thing. Like, I went to the Wesco post office and there was a guy with a QAnon bumper sticker, and I was like, oh God, they're here.
They don't know what it means, though. Most people that are espousing, even on the other side, even BLM, QAnon, Blue Lives Matter, they're all doing the same thing. They're all taking headlines and believing stories in their own head that they make up out of headlines. Nobody's following up the trail.
Everything. But if you're not, and this is like why we need education, because people, like, you can get anything you want from the internet. You can find anything that agrees with you on the internet. But is it true? So, education.
Hashtag education. So what do you think can facilitate this? What can be done on a national level that's going to unite all of these school systems into a homogeneous being that divvies out the education fairly and equally amongst everybody?
I think, honestly, what we need to really do is look at the people that are doing it well. Like in Finland, they are like, look at our scores compared to Finland. We are not doing great. Our education systems are not doing great. And our answer to this was, well, let's put the kids in school for long days, for longer periods of times. Let's give them more schooling. Let's cut out the arts. Let's essentially gut education. Like, we don't receive the funding that education should. More money goes into private prisons and actually goes into the educational system. So that kind of shows you where the emphasis is in America. We're more concerned about locking people up and keeping them there than we are about educating people. And
Correct.
Truly, I completely believe if everyone had a quality education, and no matter what you do, because everyone's job matters. We need every single job that we have in this United States, anywhere from doctors and lawyers to janitors to the people that serve our food. They are all people that contribute greatly to our society. So educated people will, like, it makes the world better for everyone.
Yeah, I think Joe Rogan, Take a Shot, has been heard saying, what we need what we need to make America great or make America strong is to not have a bunch of stupid people running it. And in order to keep a bunch of stupid people from running it, educate them, period. It's not a complicated equation.
So in Finland, they actually have more time for kids to go run out and play. They have less
Well,
homework. The school days are shorter. They don't spend as much time within their academic periods. The
because it's not
week
a babysitting program. It's an educational system. It's not a babysitting program.
there too is they also value their teachers. All of their like it's a highly sought after job to teach in Finland.
Well,
Kind of like
free
a lawyer
healthcare
would
in Finland
be
too.
like, yeah, exactly. So that's the thing that needs to happen. Education shouldn't be because that was my only option and that's what I did. You know what I mean? We should be visualizing educators as people that are actually continuing and doing the hard work of making sure like we need to have educators held in high esteem and with respect, and make it one of the high paying jobs. That way people who want to get in there and do the work are doing the work, just like we do with doctors and lawyers.
Now
That's
that
what that needs to change. Another thing that needs to change with Texas Star, we spend, I want to say it's 8 or 9 million a year on that darn assessment. That is honestly pointless.
the
So
assessment being
the STAR test, I think it's done. And this is why. We spend so much time trying to get kids to pass that test that we are not spending enough time adequately educating them. I believe we spend a lot of time trying to get them to figure out how to pass a test. That is not building critical thinking skills for students at
you
all.
know what I miss as
Solving skills in our students. It's not really building their education. They're learning to take a test.
right.
When in reality, what we could do, because this is what we do in special education, when we are doing the diagnosing and all that fun stuff that the educational diagnosticians and licensed LSSPs do, they actually get, and they get really great indicators of how students are performing in different levels. So they get really good reading grade level equivalencies as far as like their ability to comprehend and understand and word read.
Right.
It's same with math, their comprehension, their ability to solve basic math problems, their ability to think critically, their short-term memory, their long-term memory. We get a lot of data from the tests that we give in special education.
Sure,
Those
but they're also utilized as benchmarks as well, right? They're not. It's not like this is the end. Like once you're here, okay, you're good with that subject. Now let's move on to something else.
So I think if we were to give those types of tests that we normally do to diagnose students with special education to every single kid, here's the beginning of the year test, here's the end of the year test, did that kid grow? Yes or no? And I think that's what we should really be looking at, because those tests are way less expensive. They do take a while to administer because you normally give them one at a time. But I mean, there's so many geniuses out there in the world, we could figure out a better way to do it.
Sure.
But spending way too much money and focus on that instead of making sure the kids are growing from where they're at and they're developing skills that'll actually help them outside of school.
Now, I want to go back to Finland for a second there, because now there is a stipulation where, yeah, they've got free healthcare, yeah, they've got a better education system. They're also only a population of like 5 million people. Or 15 or so, 5 to 15, somewhere around there. We're a country of over 300 million, 350 million, 375, I think, last time I checked. Somewhere around there. So it's not an easy thing to just switch over to doing. So what do you think is something that might be able to be done to, I guess, first and foremost, allocate money towards the education system? Where do we pull it from? Where would you like to see that money taken from and brought to the education system?
I think for that argument, it really needs to be looked at. So is education not important enough? Like, is that what?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if a country of 5 to 15 million people can do it well, why can't we? If we are the supposed leaders of the free world. So just because it's hard doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. Is it hard to teach a kid with autism who's punching you and kicking you, spitting on you, biting every single day to stop doing that? Yes, it is, but it doesn't mean it shouldn't be done.
Yeah, it's still the better option than taking them out to the forest and leaving them for a changeling.
Is it hard to teach kids to read who don't have the cognitive ability to do it just yet? Yes, but it should be done. Is it hard to teach kids to read Braille? Yes, but it doesn't mean it shouldn't be done. Just because
Exactly.
things are hard doesn't mean that they're not worth doing.
Yeah,
Our kids are completely worth it. Every single kid deserves a quality education and deserves to have a quality life because of that education. And our focus needs to stay there.
I mean,
There
someone
is
had to play
money,
that.
we give money to the prison systems. There's a lot of money going into, honestly, it's just a gross mishandling of money is what we see. We pay taxes, and I like paying my taxes. I know where they're going. They're going to the police. They're going to the firefighters. They're going to make sure the country continues to run. I get the point of taxes. I pay them. I don't mind. I pay more than the president, and I will continue to do so.
I agree.
But
Frank
I mean,
doesn't. Frank thinks we need to get rid of all taxes.
Yeah.
well,
Frank's
I
like, no
understand
more taxes.
why we have taxes, and I continue to understand why we have taxes, and I will continue to pay my taxes. It is worth it, even if I directly don't benefit from them. But I benefit from having the police around. I benefit
Yeah.
from having firefighters.
Real
I benefit
quick.
from the military.
Real quick, I've made all these points to Frank as well, but I would like Frank to share his point of view with you. That way we can maybe get a little rhetoric going back and forth here and figure out where these different in opinions lie and see if maybe you two can work them out a little bit with each other. So Frank, what is your position on what makes you believe that a tax-free America is the America you want to live in?
Because there's one example off the top of my head, but I'm going to say that for after this one.
Stop digressing. Just spit it out.
No, okay, fine. I'll spit it out now instead of after the
Spit it
point I was
out.
going to make.
Stop talking about it.
No, for example, in Texas, 90% of our so-called private roads belong to one company in where's it from? In Spain. So then the way the private roads are built is that the state comes up with a highway plan, right? And then for some reason they don't have the fundings or the materials. They just can't complete it. So they put it up for sale. And it's this company from Spain that's their most frequent customer. And the deal is we'll put up a toll so that you can make your money back. But within less than a year, that company has already made their money back. So then for the rest of the years that it's collecting toll, that tax is going straight to the company. That tax is
Are you
profit.
sure? I thought the reason for the tolls initially initially for the toll, yes, it's going to go to pay back the country or whoever that gave us the loan to build those roads. But the taxes that continue to funnel in after that aren't for that, I don't believe, or for the people that invested once they've got their money back. It's for the maintenance of those roads. You have to have street sweepers running them. There's car accidents all the time. You got to get the bumpers off the damn road, the tires off the road, the pieces of glass off the road.
That's all from the city.
Right, but they're state highways. They're not always from the city. They're city workers because they're the local ones that are hired out. But who do you think pays the city workers? It's not just city tax. Federal taxes go to the cities as well.
What you're paying in toll doesn't go to the government. It goes to the company.
And you know that? Where did you get this information though?
From the internet machine.
Okay, it's the first time I've heard it. So, what do you think, Alyssa? What do you think?
Here's my issue with that, and I completely understand because I guess I consider myself more of a progressive person now. I guess your feelings, whatever my situation has changed as I continue to grow and just learn more. It just depends on your life experiences too. But when I was younger, I did come from a very conservative household. Although my dad's a moderate, he honestly does look, and that's where we've had many fun debates within my family because my brother started off being very liberal. Now he's very moderate. My dad's always been more on the conservative side, but he's a moderate. I used to be more conservative. Now I'm more moderate. Like I was moderate as I continued to grow, and then now I'm just completely progressive.
Well, the more dualistic this country gets, you're gonna have more people coming into the center like that.
it's mostly because of my experience with the kids that I've only had my experience here in the Valley. And the Valley is a very homogenized area of, honestly, a lot of privilege, if we're being complete. And I've been privileged because of it. And I'll go into that.
We haven't had that systematic racism affect us the way that some. I mean, yes, in a worldview way, but on a macro level, where we're all, or micro level rather, in our own little communities, we're surrounded by us, by our family, by our friends.
Next, but I want to touch this. So I understand the whole not wanting taxes thing. I've thought about that many a times because I used to lean more libertarian with stuff. But here's the thing that I don't agree with. So that tends to lead to the privatization of things,
Which he loves.
which honestly, with some stuff, maybe it's great, but I think of the prison system and the oh my God.
Privatization.
She is about to make the same argument I've made 1,000 times to you. I hope she can say it in a way that gets through to your brain.
Let me hear it.
All right, let her hear it.
And as we now know, corporations are now considered people. We have that ALEC corporation thing that actually writes a lot of bills that have benefited the prison system. So all these corporations are the people owning it, and they're writing bills to benefit themselves. So honestly, I personally think that it's not working for the American people. It's working for the people that profit off of the American people. And even if you were to cut out taxes to like end the fact that they're getting all of our money or they're benefiting from our money, honestly, all it affects is the middle class and the lower class, which is me. Like, I am the lower middle class. I honestly used to think I was a little bit more middle class, but as I've grown up,
the rest of the nation.
I'm able to save. I'm blessed. We do make quite a bit of money, but we don't make enough to where if we were to lose our job during this pandemic, we wouldn't do well after 6 months, because that's all our savings are up for. We have a dear God, please help us thing, like a savings for that. But after that, we're done. Like, we won't be able to make it. Like, I would have to foreclose this house and all of that fun stuff. So it doesn't benefit the middle and lower classes. And what will happen with the middle and lower classes if we are benefiting from that? We're going to have to start paying for education. We're going to have to start pulling money for our local police officers, for our firefighters, because I don't know, like, I personally don't have the know-how to be able to put out my own fire. Like, I have fire extinguishers here, but it would be, honestly, what would happen is the middle and lower class would really have to come together and pool their money together to be able to have the systems in place, to be able to fix our roads. That's taxes.
Yeah, and I love that Frank. You know, I give him a lot of crap about this idea that he has to get rid of taxes, but what it does show is his hope for humanity, because what it doesn't take into consideration is individuals' greed. And unfortunately, you're not going to have a bunch of benevolent people living in your city that just wants to make the city better. Some people just want to make their life better at the expense of the entire city. We see that in local politics today. We see it in national politics, in global politics. No matter where you are, you may have a nice stint of 10 years of leaders that are just amazing, and we're in an economic boom and everything is beautiful, but then the wrong guy gets in office, he takes the wrong bribe. Well, any bribe is a wrong bribe, but you see my point. Like, there's no ignoring the fallacy of man or woman.
So far has proven to anyone that they are going to ensure that their employees are getting the benefits and the money they deserve. Like, we have in America right now people working 40 hours every single week and not able to actually pay their bills. They're still on food stamps. They're getting housing. Like, how is it that people are working their butt off 40 hours a week to be in the same position, to be in debt, to not be able to make it? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous, especially when corporations like Walmart, their owners are billionaires. It wouldn't take much to give their employees a living wage. It really wouldn't. It wouldn't affect their bottom line.
And there's a manipulative aspect to that too, because you hear places like Target that are offering and Walmart that offer their employees $15 an hour. Overnight warehouse is $16, $18 an hour. Beautiful, fantastic. But are you going to allow them to make over 18 hours a week? No, most of these people are working minimum. Yes, their minimum wage at that locale is up to $15, $18, but they're not given a living wage because they're not giving enough hours to earn that living. It's a manipulative concept that people are using on a national scale to make their company sound so much better, when in the end it's no better than the Rockefellers or anybody else from back in the day, that the big oil conglomerates or steel or paper mill.
They can afford to do it, and people will have the argument of, well, they worked hard to build their company the way it is, blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, they need to be able to treat their workers as like they can afford to do this. The cost isn't trickle down to the American worker, the Americans who are paying for the stuff. It's their greed that they're continuing to hoard their wealth and not actually giving their employees a living wage. And it shouldn't be the fact of, well, these people don't have to play nice. They earned it. They should do whatever they want. Yes, that argument, they can do whatever they want. It's their company. But people deserve to have a living wage at the end of the day. It's not, and people also bring up the argument, well, they should get an education and all that fun stuff and get a better job. Well, then who's going to do their job? Like, we need people working at Walmart.
I'm very proud to be a cog in the wheel. I don't make a lot of money. I don't have a job that allows for prestige or glory or anything. What I have is a job that supports my family, that keeps the economics of my city moving forward, and it allows me ample opportunity and time in my private life to pursue things like this, the podcast or my yoga practice or all these other things. So there's options for people out there, but they're still dictated. They're still dictated. I mean, as free as we are, we're never free.
Exactly. Like, we deserve a living wage. Not that, like, I'm saying pay them to where the fact that, like, everyone's buying these nice houses and, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying
I'm not a socialist.
I'm not saying giving everyone $1 million to the point where
I'm not a communist. I'm not a socialist. I'm not saying, hey, let's all earn whatever money we make. We all pull it together and then everybody earns the same thing. That's not what I'm saying. What I am in agreement.
Wage, people deserve to not live in poverty.
Yeah, that's it. Just not live in poverty. California is doing, sorry?
Everything's getting more and more expensive, but our wages have stayed the same. But who's getting a lot of...
Hold on. Gas is at an all-time low per barrel. Why are we not back down to 50 cents a gallon? Explain that one to me.
Because it doesn't cost fucking enough for us to charge 50 cents a gallon.
It doesn't cost anything right now. Companies are paying the United States to take their oil because they're overproducing and nobody is driving because of this corona pandemic. There is a surplus of oil in the nation right now, and we are still it's still cheaper than it was 5 years ago, but it's still $1.80. $1.90. When, back when I was in high school, I had to sell my truck to get a small car because I couldn't afford the $2.50 that it was up to. But before that happened, before the Iraq war, it was still only at most 98 cents, $1.25. Then overnight, $2.
Yeah, the reason it's not at 50 cents is because we got to keep those companies up, because those companies...
No, we don't.
Those companies...
Just like the mom and pop companies in the world, these little spots around here that are getting shut down because they can't afford to keep their doors open, we don't have the government bailing them out. We're giving them a stipend so that they can save their lives for a month or two. And then they're fucked because their business has gone under. And they're not getting insurance from that anymore. They can't afford... If they can afford their first and last month's rent, let's assume they can cover all that rent. They no longer can afford all the insurance that's backed up as well.
If the oil companies go bankrupt, there goes the Texas economy. If
Bullshit.
The Texas economy goes to shit,
that is an oversimplification.
Economy.
That is an oversimplification of the Texas economy because we are not 100% reliant on oil. We aren't. We do natural gas, yes. We do oil, yes. We do all these things. But the Texas is a damn country in itself. We have agriculture. water. We have solar, we have wind, all available. We have a giant wind farm here in Hidalgo County or Cameron County that it stretches for miles. And if we supplemented that with solar energy with the same amount of land, let's say we put them in between. Yes, it's terrible for the environment. Battery power isn't the best thing for the environment. But if we're worried about the individuals and the people in our community, then we should care about, I mean, there are options. Like we said at the beginning of this episode, there are options to every problem. And I'm sorry, but a multi-million, billion-dollar conglomerate organization, whatever they are, that can no longer afford to keep their doors open, fuck them. Nobody's ever given enough of a shit about the mom and pop companies. Why should we give more of a shit about these massive companies that are going to be just fine shutting down? That if they truly wanted to give a shit about their employees, they would take at least half of that money that they're getting from going bankrupt and actually divvy it out to their employees who have worked for them for 20 plus years, and not just make them pay into their own system to have money when they retire.
So, they have money, so you have to. If you look at oil profits, they have boomed since they started raising the prices. So, and it's really funny because I actually didn't start looking into this until I watched The Other Guys, that movie from Will Ferrell and Marky Mark.
That's a good one.
I knew prices went up. I, as an American, assumed because of the war. That is why the prices went up.
It made sense. It was a good story.
That's why I don't look into things. I'm a regular American at that time. Like I believe the government. We're patriots and go America. So I never looked into it. And then I watched The Other Guys. And then if you notice the end of the movie, it'll show you that there is a meeting between some of the big oil head companies and President Bush at the time. After that meeting, oil prices went up. And what else went up? Their profits. If it was more expensive to procure oil at that time, their profits shouldn't have been as high. Do you know what I mean?
And what ends up with that is they're not just making that profit for themselves. They're also making that profit in order to donate more to their policies, to their idea of what America is supposed to be tomorrow. That's where the money comes from to facilitate Donald Trump or Biden or whoever's taking the payout this fucking month, you know?
Yep. So yeah, they're not looking out for our best interest. They're looking out for their own best interest at that time. And I honestly don't want to believe it was George Bush because I liked him so much. I even have his little book on the portraits he's done of soldiers because I like George Bush. So I think he's a great man. But I believe it was Dick Cheney that did it the entire time because it's too much for me to believe that it was George Bush because he seems like a really nice guy.
Well, you know, some people say the same thing about Obama. Some people say the same thing about Trump. You know, we can all choose to pay attention to what we want to and ignore what we don't know. But in the end, we just got to take the information we are allowed to have and do our best to divvy
but
it
if
out.
you look at their profits shortly after that, somehow magically they all went sky high.
Just follow the money.
Going up if it's expensive, you know what I mean? Like if it's expensive for me to make a shirt, my profits aren't going to be that high. If it's cheaper for me to make a shirt, my profits will probably be a little higher. So that's how profits work. It's the money you're making from all of this. So if your profits are high, it's not that it's expensive to procure all this oil. It's that you're making a lot of money off of us because you raised the prices.
You know what I would like to do? What I would like to advocate for? I want to hire our allies and even a couple countries that aren't our allies to audit the United States. I want both people that like us and people that hate us to have views of all our finances and just give the American people all that information because you need to follow the money. You got to figure it all out.
There's a politician named Ron Paul that has been pushing for the past 20 years to audit the Fed.
We need, well, not just the Fed. I mean, all of it.
The Fed, the Federal Reserve.
Yeah. Well, yeah, true. But we need to know what's going on.
Our Wi-Fi prices in America are higher and we have lower speeds when compared to other countries.
Well, you know, Elon Musk is going to fix that. I mean, we're not going to be able to see any stars anymore, but Elon Musk is fixing that.
So think about that. Like other places pay a lot less for the same services we have and have better services than we do. Why is that?
But we're the number one country in the world. Yeah, it's a
No.
choice. It's a choice.
Yeah, people really need to like focus in on that too. Like,
But you know
is
why? You know why?
working for us?
The problem is that the internet isn't considered like the phone lines or like water. It's not a national utility. So we're not going to have the best. It's going to be a privatized industry because we're not paying taxes on it, Frank.
No, we're paying taxes on internet.
We're paying taxes on the internet?
Yep.
Oh, great. So because it's a privatized company, we can pay taxes and get charged up the ass for it.
What?
Yeah.
No, we're paying taxes on internet.
Right. What I'm
whether
saying
you
is
believe it or
that
not.
if you made all internet free and we just paid taxes for it, we'd all have great internet speed. It'd be a secure line, just like our phone lines. Our phone lines go down. We have professionals out there. We don't have to call and let them know our phone lines are down. They have a system that lets them know. The internet companies do too, but because they're separated into Comcast and Spectrum and all these different facilities, one half of the country goes down without internet, and the other half is doing just fine. And it shouldn't be like that. It just shouldn't.
The internet has always been free.
The internet's no. That's
Yeah.
That's an oversimplification. That's like saying there's public transportation for free. Like, yeah, you can go take the bus for $5 or whatever to get to McAllen, but it's going to take you 6 hours to get there. There's actual cost to your time. So
No, the internet is free. What the companies are charging you is hooking you up.
no, I
the
pay a
internet.
monthly service for my internet speed.
Yeah, that's
And I mean, not anymore. Now Spectrum is just because I'm with Spectrum. I don't know if other companies are different speeds. Anyway, we're getting into the weeds here now. But this has been a lot of fun. We've been going for a little over,
I don't know.
about half an hour
I
now.
lost count.
Is there anything else you want to cover? Anything? You've got tons of info. I'm loving this, Alyssa. Who would have known after all these years we'd talk and get along so well with these conversations?
So education.
Education.
Honestly, think if we all put in our power together, we could really fight for our kids to ensure that we get all of our kids really good quality education. So now here's the thing with people with disabilities in Texas. People with disabilities, as you grow older, you have less options. The only real option you have in Texas is homes after you graduate. That's what we do. Like, that is your option. And that's what's important.
What do you mean homes?
Like group homes, like tropical and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I want to be specific because some people aren't in this environment at all to know.
So there's you get institutionalized, and that's not fair. Everyone deserves a good quality of life, and this is why I will continue to pay taxes, because I know that they should be going to things like helping our students after they graduate have a good quality of life. There is a bigger push now. Texas has been known to underfund special education. It's been proven. They're trying to fix it now because they got called out by the federal government for doing that. So now they're trying to fix it. However, it's not at the speed it should be. Example, I have to raise money for my kids to go to the Special Olympics state. I only have a few kids. Like, I have less kids in my classroom than I have fingers on my hands. How do I raise $5,000 from a few kids
Whoa.
to Special Education state? How is that not something that is provided to our kids? You know what I mean?
But when do you have to do this?
Well, I'm not doing it this year because I left my old school district, but that was something that was weighing really heavily on our minds.
I was already about to offer, like, I'll do some free yoga class, put some jars out, we'll earn some money.
Parents pulled together, we sold plates, we did one of those type of GoFundMe things, like we sold plates up the wazoo. We would have a coffee cart and sell coffee to teachers. But the thing is, we had to raise so much money to do that one thing, and then it got canceled because of Corona. But it was, and we didn't even get close to even paying the hotels. Like, that's how bad it was. Like, we had like almost no money. Our special education, like, I had to raise money to do because this last year I was teaching middle and high school, and so something we did was community-based outings. Our kids struggle with life skills, having to go to the store and pay for things, having to budget. They need to know all of those things in order to live alone if they choose to, because that should be an option for them if they choose to want that. Or if they want to live with someone in an apartment, that is something that they can choose. They don't have to live with their parents. They don't have to be institutionalized. They can be taught anything. And that's what people really need to understand, and people need to ensure that that's happening. So we would go to the store. They would have to go find items. They had to budget. They had to pay. Really hard for kids to do, to sit there and wait for their change, because they're not aware that they get change back after they pay them. They're so excited that they paid. They're like, look, and I'm like, where's your receipt and your change? And so they'd have to go back and like get their receipt and their change. But it's things like that that they need to learn to be able to do, which is a lot more difficult for them to understand. So they need actual practice in the community to do that. I had to do so much fundraising to be able to do that once a month for my kids. It's written, like, some of it I had to pay for personally, which is ridiculous. Our kids need those types of experiences to be successful after school. The goal should always be independence. Exactly. So I thought it was ridiculous to spend so much money for that. So the system of education really needs to change, and there needs to be more funding to provide people with disabilities better options. They should not be confined to low options for the rest of their life. There is now more of a push to get people with disabilities into jobs. They have funded some funds with the Texas workforce to assist with that, and it is doing well. Like here in the Valley, we do have a council for getting students with disabilities into jobs, and so it's getting better, but we need funding to do all of this. Like, it can't just be the teachers having to, like, I need to plan these lessons and I need to do so much coordinating just to get there. Like, it's ridiculous. Like,
on top of organizing whatever you have to earn the money.
Easier to do it, and then having to teach the kids lessons. Like, it is too much for any one person to constantly be doing this. And I understand why teachers don't do it in the self-contained settings. I don't have kids. That was my only thing. So I didn't mind doing it. And I love my kids so much that I would have honestly done anything for them. But that shouldn't be what's happening in every single classroom. We need to provide our teachers with the funds to be able to do this no matter their situation. Like, it does take a ridiculous amount of planning for all of that to happen. I had no life. My life was the kids. Like, that is it. And so I still don't have kids, and kids are still my life. But it's like, I get why some teachers with children with demanding like house lives can't do it. I was able to because I don't have a demanding house life. It's just me and my dogs. You know what I mean? So I can do it, but that can't be the expectation for everyone. We need more help.
Hey,
we need money.
That was amazing, Alyssa. I am so grateful for you to take some time and come on and explain your positions on all these things. It's so important to get this word out. We're not a big messaging podcast. We kind of try and keep things light and fun, but there are certain things that do really matter to me as an individual. Frank gives a shit sometimes, and we would really like to help just make people more aware about, the problems that we're all a part of, not just making, but solving if we choose to do so. And we can, if we keep communicating and being open and honest with each other and not just biting each other's heads off for what we disagree with, like me and Frank don't agree with everything. We've got friends that follow the podcast. I don't agree with them at all on a lot of things they say, but I still want to have open, honest, friendly communication with them because I don't care if we disagree. We're still humans and can try and learn something from each other. Bend their position to ours and they can help bend our position to theirs. And hopefully we meet in the middle and come up with some great solutions for life. But this once again has been the Completely Inappropriate Podcast. Remember, you can find us at Completely Inappropriate Podcast at gmail.com, at CI Podcast on Instagram, at Completely Inap with 1P on Twitter, and find us on BitChute, YouTube, wherever you find us. We are there. We love you so much, everybody. Please, please keep these wonderful thoughts and messages in mind. Kids first. That's really what all of this has been about. We need to think about our kids first because, you're going to get too old to wipe your own ass one day and they're going to end up taking care of you in a home sometime. So you may want to make sure that they know how to measure out the proper milligrams of prescription to give to you. Just saying. Don't want no accidental angels of mercy out there. All right, Alyssa, is there anything, no more rants, no more. But is there any last word you'd like to give to the people?
Just really fight for your kids. Education is super important. That's the only way that we're going to improve this country. If we want to make America truly great, we educate our kids.
Awesome. Couldn't have said it better myself. Frank, what do we tell the people?
Be excellent to each other.
And find you're happy. Try to be better today than you were
some time ago.
Yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Just a little bit.
What about this morning?
I don't know. I think you get worse as the day goes on. The best time of day for you is the second you wake up.
So be better than you were this morning.
Take it easy, everybody. Much love. Bye. Say bye, Frank.